Over the years, the NBA game has drastically changed. A game in 2020 looks nothing like a game in 1950. New rules, new regulations, new formats, everything about the game of basketball has changed. And for the most part, these changes were very well received by the general public. And looking at how the NBA's popularity skyrocketed faster than any other American sport, it's safe to say that the changes over time were generally positive. Even nowadays, the league is much more open to adopting new rules and new regulations to make the game more exciting for players and fans. In this video, we're gonna take a look at a few rule changes that the NBA could potentially implement in the future. Now, I'm not gonna be spewing out new rules that I want. I'm gonna talk about rules and regulations that the NBA is legitimately considering. And these ideas were brought up by people who are close to the league administrators or brought up by the NBA themselves. Some were even tested in the G League. Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and let's get started. Number 5. International goaltending. The NBA rule set is quite different from the FIBA rule set. A lot of rules that apply to international basketball are different than the ones in the NBA. For example, in the NBA, goaltending is different. If somebody takes a shot, the defenders cannot touch the ball when it's above the rim. So let's say somebody takes a jumper and it bounces off the rim. You have to wait until it comes down before grabbing the rebound. If you touch the ball while it's still above the rim, it's called a goaltend. It's been this way since the 1950s, specifically because of George Mikan. He was so tall, so athletic, and easily knocked the ball off the rim. So he forced the NBA to change the rule to its current state. However, in FIBA and most international leagues, they never adopted this. They let the defender touch the ball anytime after it hits the rim. Here's an example in a game between Brazil and Greece. A player shoots a free throw, potentially tying up the game 79-79. After hitting the rim, Bruno Caboclo of Brazil rushes in and slaps the ball out of there. Normally, in the NBA, this would be a clear goaltend because the ball is still above the cylinder. But in FIBA, it's perfectly legal and Brazil held on to win the game. According to an ESPN report, quote, "The Secretary General of FIBA, the governing body of international basketball, would like to see the NBA change its goaltending rules to allow players to knock the ball off the rim." The official, Patrick Ballman, made the comment during a lunch meeting with 8 selected American and European journalists. Obviously, there's gonna be mixed opinions about this rule. On one hand, it would give an even bigger advantage to guys who are tall and athletic. Players with even less skill could be valuable in the NBA if all they can do is jump and knock away shots at the rim. On the other hand, that advantage might be too much. The NBA in general is much more athletic than other leagues, which is why their goaltending rules are like this in the first place. So I don't think this change will happen, but either way, it's been brought up numerous times. So I guess it could be an option. Number 4. Corner 3 changes. In an era where the three-point shot has become the main focus of everybody, other parts of the game have become less valuable or flat out ignored. Even Greg Popovich stated, "There's no basketball anymore, there's no beauty in it." Now you look at a stat sheet after a game and the first thing you look at is the threes. The corner 3, by far, is the most efficient shot in basketball, even more so than shots in the paint. That's pretty ridiculous. You can see these numbers here. Corner 3s, on average, generate over 118 points per 100 possessions. Much more efficient than other areas beyond the arc. This brings us to April of 2019. Kirk Goldsberry of ESPN introduced this potential rule change for the future. A change that could be a middle ground between the three-point enthusiasts and the three-point critics. While many fans love this new era, a lot of fans don't. They believe players are taking way too many threes. So Mr. Goldsberry came up with his new court idea. The current NBA court is on the right. His proposed idea is on the left. Basically, the three-point line completely curves out, eliminating the corner 3. Another idea is to add a 3-second rule to the corner 3 zone, just like how we have the 3-second rule in the paint. This would force players to move around more often instead of just standing in the corner waiting for a pass. I think both of his ideas are reasonable, honestly. I don't want to see the NBA completely remove the 3-point line, but it's statistically proven that the corner 3 is way too efficient, and teams are starting to run the same plays over and over again to get players open in the corner. These changes could create more diversity in offenses to prevent teams from being too stagnant. Number 3. The 4-point line. Remember this famous quote? Antoine Walker was asked why he shot so many threes. He responded by saying, "Because there ain't no fours." Well, there might be in the future. Apparently, the NBA has been considering adding a 4-point line for a while now. According to Rod Thorne, an NBA executive and consultant, he stated that the concept came up in discussions before. The justification for adding a 4-point line was spoken very well by former player and coach Alex Hannum. He stated, "In the NBA, we just clogged up the middle and dared teams to shoot from the outside. Nobody bothered to guard anyone 20 feet from the basket, but the 3-point play really did open up the middle. No other rule made the game more wide open and more fun to watch." Using this same argument, the 4-point line should open up the floor even further and make the game even more exciting. If everything is based solely on entertainment, fans love seeing players hit shots from like 30 feet out. Steph Curry became one of the most popular players in the world because of his ridiculous shooting prowess. Adding a 4-point line would encourage more players to take deep shots, which could make the game more exciting. On the other hand, it could be like what Popovich said. We might see everyone start jacking up long shots and the beauty of basketball would be gone, because that's what everyone would be doing. Personally, I don't like it. I would not want a 4-point line. Number 2. Free throw changes. At the start of the 2019-20 G League season, they experimented with a new free throw rule. Basically, it states, quote, "Under the new experimental NBA G League rule, one free throw worth 1, 2, or 3 points will be awarded in the event of any foul that would typically result in 1, 2, or 3 free throws being shot under standard NBA rules." Essentially, what this means is that if somebody gets fouled shooting a 2-point jump shot, he will take only 1 free throw. But that free throw will be worth 2 points. If he gets fouled shooting a 3, he will take 1 free throw, but it will be worth 3 points. This was implemented as a way to make the flow of the game better. A lot of times, games get slowed down due to excessive number of free throw attempts. James Harden. Not only will it keep the game flowing, but it will also incentivize defenders to pay more attention and try to avoid fouling. Generally, the G League tests a lot of new rules, and some of them successfully transfer over to the NBA, including the 14-second shot clock reset rule on an offensive rebound, one of the more recent changes to speed up the pace of the game. Overall, I think this free throw change is a good idea. And finally, number 1, a play-in tournament. While this might not have any impact on the court, it's arguably the most prominent format change we've seen in NBA history. In November of 2019, Woj and Zach Lowe reported a very interesting story. The NBA is engaged in serious discussions with the National Basketball Players Association and broadcast partners on sweeping, dramatic changes to the league calendar that would include a reseeding of the 4 conference finalists, a 30-team in-season tournament, and a postseason play-in. This includes shortening the regular season to 78 games, and while the fine details haven't been released to the public, it's still a huge overhaul of the current format. What we know about the in-season tournament is that it would begin with a divisional group stage, some pre-knockout rounds, 6 divisional winners, and overall kinda similar to the NCAA format, but not exactly. Anyway, the idea was brought to the NBA's Board of Governors and they really liked it. This format could be implemented as soon as the 2021-22 season, and apparently not many people opposed this idea. As I mentioned, we don't know all of the details yet, but this might be the biggest change in recent history if it does happen. And I'm all for it. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 5 major rule changes that are in consideration and could possibly be implemented sometime in the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you see any of these rules actually getting implemented? Which ones do you think are out of the question? Are you strictly opposed to any of these changes? I think the 4-point line might be a bit controversial. Alright, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.